Yes, my name is Jeremiah Christopher. I'm here in front of you today to continue with our lessons. Last session we were discussing about population policy. We said that population policy are those rules and regulations that are put by the government in order to be followed by people so as to control the population of the certain area. We see that there are the different kinds of policies. The first one is there is explicit population policy and implicit population policy. Explicit population policy is that kind of populations that there is a reinforcement to be practiced in order to control society or population in the society. And the implicit is that kind of the policies even that is put by the government for the purpose of controlling the population, but is not reinforced as the explicit population policy. Okay, let us now see what are those objectives of putting this kind of policies. The first one is to harmonize population and economic growth. As we know that the aim of controlling the population is to ensure that there is a balance between available resources and the number of the people. So among the great reasons or aims for government to establish those kind of the policies is to ensure that there is economic development within the society. So the first three objectives is to harmonize population and economic growth. The second point is to promote an integrated rural urban development, to ensure that there is integration between those who are living in rural to urban development, so that to ensure that there is a development, there is a progressive changes between people who are living in rural and those who are living at the urban area. So that is another objectives of this kind of policies. Another objective is to promote employment opportunity. As we said, is that if the place have a large number of people compared to the available resources, it will possibly occurrence of this kind of problem. Many people will be unemployed and hence engaged into different activities like crimes, prostitutions, and etc. So if the population is over, or if the population is large compared to the available resource, automatically the large number of employed people of unemployed people will occur. So the government put this kind of policies in order to control the population and all people to have the employment opportunity. So this is another objectives of the government to put this kind of the policies. So policies were put for the purpose of to ensure that every people or all people in society are employed. Another objectives of explicit and implicit population policy is to promote gender equity, equality, and women empowerment. Here is another objectives of putting this kind of policy is to promote gender equity, people and equality. So all people should be treated equally. There is no gender bias here. The government tends to ensure that there is a gender balance. That is why they put this kind of the policies to ensure gender equity, equality, and women employment, to give women chance, first priorities to engage into the different economic activities for the purpose of trans their life. So the government put those policies in order to ensure gender equity, equality, and to empower the women to engage into the different economic activities. Another objective of those kind of policies is to transform socio-economic and cultural value and attitudes that hinder equality, to ensure that there are social and economic cultural values that is considered on those kind of the policies. So to transform social and economic culture, value, and attitudes that hinder gender equality. Another objective of establishing this kind of the policy is to ensure that they transform those social and economic cultural values and attitudes that hinder the gender equality. So those kind of attitudes, social and the economics attitudes or cultural values tend to be eliminated since they hinder the gender equality. So another objectives of putting this kind of the policy is to transform social, economic and cultural value and attitude that hinder the gender equality. Another point is to promote the well-being of elderly and the people with the disability. Here we're going to see those people who are found in special group, especially those who are disability. So through promoting this kind of the policies, the government will promote well-being of the elderly and the people with disabilities. Another objective is to improve the capacity of the country to address refugees problem. Also, they put this kind of policies in order to address the refugees problem. Those people who are coming from their countries for the different reasons like war, the different conflicts like land conflict and etc. Those who are called the refugees. So refugees who come into the certain country and their problems, the government put this policy in order to improve the capacity of the country on how they can help those people who are coming from their country that are refugees. Another point is to promote public awareness on individual sexual and reproductive health and right. As you know that in order to ensure something, you should having the preparation. So the government put this kind of policy in order to make the public awareness individual sexual and reproductive health right. So through the process of putting this kind of policies, those areas like individual social and reproductive health and right were well organized. So the explicit and the implicit population policy play the great role to ensure that there is a promotion of public awareness. The public tend to be aware on different issues like individual sexual and reproductive health and right. Another is to promote and expand quality reproductive health care services and etc. So through the recognizing that the population of our country is balanced with our developments like in different sectors like social. The government, by knowing those, they put these policies in order to help them on how they can ensure the quality to expand those reproductive health care services like hospitals and etc. Another to increase agriculture production. As we know that if in the urban areas there are large number of people, and as we know that in urban areas there is no people who engage in agriculture. So if people tend to migrate from rural to urban, they will engage in different activities. That's why agriculture at the rural area declined due to the shortage of manpower. So if the population is balanced through this organization of these policies, automatically the sectors will be developed into different ways. For example, agriculture production will increase due to the ensures a constant supply of laborers in the agriculture sectors. Another is to improve nutritional status of the people. When they tend to prepare the nutrition of the people, even they can do this by looking that the population is balanced with those nutrition services. So by knowing that, it will be easy for them to balance the nutrition status of the people within the country. Another objective is to promote integrated and sustainable use and the management of natural resources. As we know that if the resource is balanced with the number of people, automatically will be used in sustainable way. So the government see it is better to put these kinds of the policies in order to ensure the proper use and the management of those available resources like minerals, forestry and etc. So the principles of this kind of population policy, which is explicit and implicit population policy, played the great role to ensure the integrated and the sustainable use and the management of the natural resource. Another is to improve the preparedness and the management of disaster and the emergencies. For example, as we see that there are the different disasters that occur into our world today. So through the population policy, improve the preparedness and the management of occurring of disaster. So the government get to be prepared to the disasters that will occur due to if the population is high. So if the population tend to be controlled, automatically those kind of disasters will not able to happen, since there is balance between the population and the place where people live. Another is to ensure adequate supply of safe and to promote and provide equitable and quality education. As we know that if the population is high at a certain country, and if it is not developed, and that country if is not developed, automatically there is a different problem that will occur. For example, there is the occurrence of poor education, poor social services, poor social services like hospitals, safe water, and etc. So to maintain the balance of the population, automatically the government will be able to provide and to promote equitable and quality education. All people within the country will get the quality education because of the government to put those policies that they get through to control the population. Another point is to improve population data collection and research, and they are timely. Also, through these policies, it improves population data collection. It is very easy to get the data of the people in the certain country through the implication of this kind of the population policy control. Another is to improve training in population issues. Training in population issues, for example, if they want to transfer or to train the people on how to engage in agriculture, in which method you can use in agriculture to get the high product and the quality education, on how you can engage in fishing techniques that we are going to use in the fishing. The training on those things will be easy since the population is equal balance with the available resources at the certain place. So through those policies help to improve training in population issues and etc. Another is to create an enabling environment that will facilitate acceptance of population issues, namely reproductive health, population and development, and gender concerns. Also through the presence of these policies, those different areas like reproductive health, population development, and gender concern will be able to be put in the good way that will support the life of people inside. So through the presence of those kind of policies, played the great role for the government to create an enabling environment, that is fit and good for supporting the lives of people within the certain country. So another is to mobilize the necessary resources for implementation of the national population policy. Also through population policies, both explicit and implicit, it will make easy way for the government to mobilize the necessary resources for implementation. Those necessary resources like minerals, forests, rivers, oceans, and etc. will be implemented in the good way for the purpose of the national. So after finishing there, let us now see the case studies. We are going now to see the China population. As you know that China is a country that found among the country that is have large number of people in the world. China population is the country that found in Asia continent. This China is generally said to be overpopulated since it has insufficient food, mineral, and energy resources to support its high population. As you know that among the biggest countries in the country, China is among the country that is developed and among the countries that have the large number of people. Why in China there is a large number of people? There is a large number of people simply because China developed into their different sectors. For example, there is insufficient food. Also China, there are availability of minerals, resources, energy resources also is well organized in China. That was supposed people to produce, and at the end tend to have the high population compared to the developing countries like Tanzania. It is most populous in the world, followed by Indians. The people in China frequently suffer from national disaster, but there are the different disasters that took place in China. For example, there is occurrence of drought, floods and famine, as well as disease. Also there is eruption of diseases. For example, as you know that China there is huge industry. So those huge industry having water contaminate, those waste product from the industry contaminated with water, and hence there is the possibility of the occurrence of the diseases. Also, they are also characterized by low income, poverty, poor living condition at high level of immigration. By 1990, 23% of the world population lived in China. This is that in 1990, 23% of the world population in general lives in China at those days. Okay, let us now see why China experienced the high rate in 1950s. Here we're going to see the reasons why China experienced the high rate in 1950s. The first point is the government encouraged the high birth rate under the philosophy that a large population gives a strong nation. In 1950s, the government of China encouraged the high birth rates because they believed that a large population gives the strong nation. China believed that the large population make the strong nations. So people are encouraged to have as many children as possible. The government of China supports people to produce. So also this was called a pro-natal approach, and there was confidence that China could feed her population, however rapidly it increased. So even if they produce at the high rate, because in China there is enough foods to fulfill the demand of people. So China encouraged the people to give birth. So that's why there is occurrence of large number of people in 1950s. The second point is at the same time death rate were falling due to improved food supply and medical care. In 1950s, the country of China tended to have a large number of people because there is occurrence of high rate that encourages a large number of people to increase in Kenya, while at the same time death rate were decreased. Why death rate were increased? Death rate were increased due to the fact that in China there is improved food supplies and medical care. In the sector of health is well organized and good that supports the lives of people. So during that time of 1950s, the death rate in China were decreased and the birth rate increased. So death rate decreased due to the fact that in China there is food supplies that is improved and also medical care improved. Okay, let us now see population control in China. Population, now we are going to see the mechanisms that were used in China to control the populations, how they use their different ways in order to control the populations. During 1960s, the population increased by 55 million after every 3 years. So here we see that after every 3 years, 55 million population increase at the year of 1960s. The second is the Red Family Planning Program were introduced in the 1970s. In 1970s, the government's now coming with the family planning problem. They come up with this idea of family planning program in order to control the population, because at the 1960s years, the population of China tend to be high. So the government come up with the idea of to control the population in China. So they come up with the idea of family planning program that introduced in the year of 1970s, in which the government encouraged family planning services, which could promote maternal and child health benefit as well as economic and ecological advantage. They see that by coming up with the idea of family planning as a strategy to control the population, the government knows that through doing that kind of policies, the economic will be advanced for the purpose of their nations. The slogan later, longer, fewer, was introduced, and this implies later marriage, a longer interval between births and fewer children. The family planning service were community-based. So these kind of policies of controlling the family, which is called the family planning service, based on the community. This kind of the policy based in the communities. So by 1975, the average family size had fallen to 3 children. So at 30 years, every family, as you see that this kind of strategies is based on the community. So in 1975, every family such fund in China had fallen to 3 children, but the government still considered it as too big. Another is in 1979, the anti-natalistic one child per family policy was introduced by the government. So even the government of China see that every family to have 3 children, even that is large number. So in 1979, they come up with the idea of every family to have the 1 child. So this kind of the policy was introduced in 1979. With this policy, the government hoped to reduce natural increase to 0 by the year of 2000, and hence available the population grows beyond 1,200 million. So those are those strategies that the government of China used in order to control the population during those days. So let us now see those fulfilling that the following was done in order to control those kind of population. The single child policy offered specific incentives for parents only having 1 child and the penalties for those who had more than 1 child. So the government of China practiced that policy of 1 child policy for the purpose of controlling the population, and those who are going against that kind of policy, there is a penalties for those who is going against that kind of policy. Blood certificates were introduced and they entered a couple and their child to various financial, employment and education and other benefit in exchange for promises to have no further children after the first born. So everyone or every citizen who found in China supposed to having the 1 children, and that is a policy that is put by the government of China. Also encouraged abortion. The government encouraged abortion. They think that abortion is among of the best ways of controlling the population, so abortion becomes compulsory. So through these reasons, even they succeed well in the controlling of their population. So during that time, the government of China encouraged people to abort. Another is marriage was set to 22 years for males and 20 years for females. So even they tend to see on the marriage, for males you are supposed to marry with 22 years, while for girls or females you are going to be married in 20 years. The couple were pressurized to accept the official promoted norms, and more of application could be made for some people who wanted marry or seek permission for having the children. So marriage also was a kind of the things that the government of China think that it is better for controlling of the populations in China. Okay, let us now see what has a constant to the policy. In rural areas, the policy faced resistance since some feared that by accepting the policies there could reach a time when the society would have too many dependent old people and too working young people. This is among the concept of that kind of the policies. In the rural area, faced the resistance since some fear that by accepting the policies they could reach in time when the society have too many dependent old people and too working young people. So they think that by applying that kind of the policy of having the one child, they think that at the rural area they will be able to the occurrence of shortages of laborers, and the number of young will decrease, and hence the dependent old people and the working the number of old people increase and the numbers of young decrease. In many rural localities, the single child policy has never been strongly enforced, and in 1987 the government began to relax in enforcing the policies. The government, by reaching the times of 1987, this kind of one child policy was not doing well, since people not practiced it well. So the government see it is better to stop this. So by reaching the years of 1977, the government began to relax to enforcing the people to practice this kind of the policy. Following the resistance, the people in rural area were allowed to have 2 children, but urban dwellers to maintain a single child. So by reaching that years, the government see that those people who are living in urban should have the single child, so they will continue with policies, while those who are living at the rural should have 2 child for the purpose of to ensure that there is a labor force that will engage in different activities like agriculture, production, and etc. However, despite all these attempts to reduce population, the number of people has been growing, and the population is higher than what was intended, and will continue growing up to 1,500 millions before 2025. However, the government of China applied those all kind of the policies of having one child policy, but still there is a numbers of people increasing up to reach the years of before 2025, the 1,055 millions number will be approximately to reach there. Okay, let us now see the population control in UK, population control in United Kingdom. Britain is the home of Industrial Revolution, hence it witnessed a high natural increase in population between the year of 1760 up to 1880. This economic prosperity led to the decline of death rate, since there was an improvement in medical care, as we see that Britain among the great countries in the world. So their population even is intended to be high due to those sectors is well improved and organized due to the availability of water, improved food production for supporting the quality of the people in the society. From the year of 1880 to birth control program were introduced us to slow down population increase. By reaching these years, even the government of United Kingdom applied the different programs in order to control the population increase. The birth rates were kept low through family planning. They apply the strategies of family planning, so the birth rates tend to be controlled by keeping the rules of family planning. So they think that these policies will play the great role to control the population. So they think that it is a better way of controlling the population, so they apply the family planning. Okay, my dear student, the lesson of today have been discussed the different things we are dealing with. We have been dealing with those policies that we see that the different country put in order to control the population. For example, we have studied China as among of the case study. We see those mechanisms that China used in order to control the populations during those days. So let me leave exercise. The questions need you to explain the objectives of population policy control. What kind of aims, objectives of population policy control. So individually you have to conduct this, and we will go to see it at the next sessions. Thank you for your cooperations.